I loved being pregnant with her.
Say hi, baby.
Hi, baby.
We really wanted Ziggy to have a brother or sister.
Say good morning, baby.
Sorry, baby.
Wakey, wakey.
Wakey, wakey.
She was very much a wanted baby, yeah.
Leah Pitman couldn't wait to welcome her daughter to the world.
Cheeky little bug.
Along with Dad, Dustin, and big brother, Ziggy.
I'm gonna get you.
The baby was conceived via IVF, but it was otherwise a low-risk pregnancy. Leah chose to have her baby at the nearby Northern Beaches Hospital.
I had a really positive, straightforward experience with Ziggy there. So there was just no doubt in my mind to go up to Northern Beaches again and have her there.
The hospital opened in 2018 as a partnership between the New South Wales Government and private company HealthScope.
Yeah, so we only came in yesterday.
Only yesterday, yeah.
The 486-bed private hospital runs a public emergency department as well as a maternity unit that delivers 1,700 babies a year. A few days before her due date in February, Leah presented to the hospital with reduced fetal movement.
I was monitored for about 2 hours on the CTG just to sort of monitor her movement and her heart rate and everything. All the results came back normal, but I, at that point in time, was beginning to feel quite anxious.
At Leah's request, an induction was booked for 1 p.m. that afternoon, but the hospital postponed it to the following day because of staff shortages. Nurses and midwives at the hospital had been striking over safety concerns that coincided with the death of a young patient.
We're both from ED and the ratios down there are just shocking. There's times where we're caring for upwards of 20 patients and it's not right anymore.
2-year-old Joe Massa had died of a heart attack at the hospital 6 months earlier after being incorrectly triaged.
An independent private chair.
Joe's death sparked legislation banning future public-private partnerships at New South Wales hospitals.
Today is a monumental day for every single person in New South Wales who deserves to know that they will be taken care of when they enter an emergency department.
I was actually lying in bed being monitored and was on my phone and saw the story pop up. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, those poor parents, like that is so heart-wrenching, and not knowing what was to come that weekend for us. Good boy, where's Bluey?
The next morning, as Leah was preparing to come to hospital to be induced, her labour began naturally.
I got to about 8 o'clock that evening and contractions really ramped up, and we headed up to the hospital at around 8:20 p.m.
Leah says she laboured with her midwife for about an hour, complaining of immense back pain.
And then my waters broke and there was blood in my waters, and I just remember looking down at the floor and thinking, oh God, like, is that normal? I started getting pain in between contractions, so I wasn't getting any relief between contractions at all.
The baby's heart rate began dropping between contractions.
So an obstetrician came in.
This was about 10:30 p.m, 1 hour after Leah's waters broke.
He noticed all the sort of blood down my legs and noticed it was bright red blood, and immediately asked me, Leah, are you having any sort of break between contractions? And I said, no, I'm not. So he obviously, he realised it was a placental abruption happening, and immediately called a Category 1 C-section, and that was at about 10:55 p.m.
Category 1 is the most urgent one, where there is a very real risk to the life of either mother or baby or both.
Dr Gino Pecoraro helped develop Australia's guidelines on emergency caesareans. He says placental abruption is rare but very dangerous.
Placental abruption is when the placenta lifts off from the wall of the uterus. It's a very important diagnosis because it carries great risk to both mother and baby if it happens, because it interrupts the blood flow to the placenta, which is giving the baby food and oxygen.
Okay, so the obstetrician called a Category 1 emergency C-section. What happened next?
So then we were left to wait.
Nothing happened next.
I remember asking them, I was like, why aren't we moving? Like, why aren't we going anywhere? We were left in birthing suite just standing there. And they kept explaining, theatre's not ready, theatre's not ready. And I just remember thinking like, okay, it must be busy. There must be an operation happening at the moment.
Exactly right.
And then we've later learnt that there's no 24/7 theatre running.
On Friday, Saturday and Sunday nights, the hospital relies on an on-call system for its operating theatre. Theatre staff are required to be within 30 minutes of the hospital. Leah was brought to the operating table at 11:28 p.m.
When I went in there were 16 people in that room, in that theatre.
Yeah, it just seemed like the world was spinning around me. I noticed that everyone around me seemed quite panicked and how they were moving so quickly, and I realised how urgent this was.
Instead of the planned emergency caesarean, the obstetrician performed a vaginal delivery.
She was just completely flat and unresponsive. Like, she didn't let out that big cry or anything like that. Very quickly they cut her cord and whisked her away over to the resus table in the corner.
I watched them do CPR on her chest. I watched them work on her for what felt like eternity, but was minute after minute after minute.
We were just waiting and it just felt like an hour, but yeah, I think it was only about 21 minutes before she took her first spontaneous breath.
I actually said to Leah while they were doing the CPR, I looked at Leah and I said, we've lost her. We're not getting her back after this. You can't not breathe for 21 minutes and come out of it unscathed, you know. It's just impossible.
To be honest, I remember feeling like angry because I was like, don't say that, like thinking like, don't say that, like she's going to be fine. Like, and we didn't even know yet whether she was a girl or a boy. And I asked my obstetrician to go over and check for us, and he came back and told us it was a girl. And I just said straight away, it's Harper, because that was our girl name.
Harper was born approximately 1 hour after the obstetric emergency was called. A specialist New South Wales Health newborn emergency team had travelled 40 kilometres across the city to work on Harper and had managed to stabilise her.
I just had this glimmer of hope that everything was going to be okay still, just hoping. Next, the paediatrician came in and he just looked like he'd seen a ghost. Like, he just came in and just looked so upset, and yeah, he was really transparent with us and explained that we have a very sick baby and that because of the placental abruption, she lost a lot of, blood flow and obviously oxygen to the brain. And there's a very, very high chance that she won't make it, but if she does, she will be brain damaged.
The team worked on Harper through the night, and early on Sunday morning she was transferred to Sydney's Royal North Shore Hospital. But her condition deteriorated. In the early afternoon, Leah and Dustin were told that Harper could not survive.
We wanted her to just go in peace.
She'd had such a like, it was just such a horrendous day, and she'd been through so much, and she was just such a little trooper. And I was just like, yeah, we both just decided, we were like, no, we need to do what's right for her. And we decided to take her off life support.
Harper lived for another 4 hours.
I was able to have my first proper, like, skin-to-skin cuddle with her, which was, yeah, it was amazing, but also just heartbreaking at the same time, knowing that this was all I was going to have, and I should have a life of this with her.
It's also a double-edged sword in a way, you know? Like, I should be holding her for the rest of my life, not just once. Once isn't enough. She looked like her mum. She was beautiful.
The hospital is conducting a review into Harper's death, but Dustin and Leah say, in their eyes, the cause is obvious.
Time delays. Things weren't urgent enough. And
prioritising profit over healthcare. That's what went wrong.
Harper's parents believe there were two failures: the unexplained delay in the arrival of the obstetrician to the birthing suite, and the long wait for the on-call theatre staff to arrive.
Well, the theatre only runs from Monday to Thursday, so not Friday to Sunday. And Harper decided to be born on a Saturday.
At a debrief with senior hospital staff, Dustin and Leah asked why the theatre was unstaffed overnight for 3 nights each week.
What they said to us was it wasn't economically feasible for them to operate that hospital with a 24/7 theatre.
Do you think if there'd been a theatre team in the hospital ready to assist, that Harper would be alive now?
Without doubt. Without doubt. I personally believe if we went to any other hospital, if we drove half an hour down the street to Royal North Shore, Harper would be alive. It is purely the fact that we ended up at Northern Beaches Hospital on the days that their theatre isn't open 24/7 that cost our daughter her life.
Northern Beaches Hospital has been plagued by issues since its opening. A second parliamentary inquiry is underway into the safety and quality of its services. Last week, the hospital's private operator, HealthScope, said it's open to returning key parts of the hospital to the public system, like emergency and obstetrics. In a statement, the company said it could not comment on the specifics because of an ongoing investigation into Harper's death. But it said it complies with all guidelines, with life-threatening surgery able to be performed within an hour.
So this is obviously extremely painful for you to recount. Why are you doing it? Tell me why you want to tell what happened to Harper.
I don't want Harper's death to be just another statistic or another sad story. I don't want her dying for nothing. And I want her story to be her because she deserves it. And she was let down and she's the victim. And we were let down as well. It's not fair. We have to carry this for the rest of our lives, knowing that something could have been done to prevent this.